Hello everyone. This is something different from my usual content, I know, but I think this is a good way to start up the channel in 2025. This won't be something often, or possibly ever again, but I felt the need to make this. This is regarding a channel that's decently known, and is partially known for power scaling, Rouga Rabid, and their statements about Monsterverse Godzilla in their video Would These Kaiju Killers Survive the War of the Monsters? And said he would be negged. I am going to debunk and explain why this is incorrect, with feats and statements from all available sources without lying. This isn't to say everything he says is wrong, though, as he makes some good points.
Shimo caused the Ice Age. In Godzilla x Kong, they introduce a kaiju named Shimo. Shimo is not as powerful as Godzilla.
You're right about her not being as strong as Godzilla, as she is implied, and even stated to be stronger, hence why he went on to evolve, which is a 2x multiplier of his base. Even then, the novelization says he does not think he could beat her, and when he goes supercharged, the winner could be decided by a toss-up. Supercharged Evo Godzilla is having an energy overflow, which is impressive, as his energy capacity increased by 20, meaning Shimo was 40 times stronger. This would mean Godzilla at his full potential would be 40 times stronger than his original base, which is a discussion that'll be brought back to focus later.
But is stated in the movie to be the reason the Ice Age happened. She caused the Ice Age. And people have calculated her doing this at like multi-continent level because the Ice Age was freezing the entire northern half of the planet. The problem is that these calculations are based on the idea that she did it in a single moment instantaneously.
Considering most of the times she uses her Frost Blast, it is stated to be instantaneous or almost instantaneous. It should be just that. It would be inconsistent if it suddenly weren't.
Shimo is sort of this weapon of mass destruction. She's so powerful, she could basically destroy the planet.
Which is not the case. The Ice Age that she caused is a stand-in for our real-world Ice Age.
Nothing is confirming it, nothing is denying it, but there's reason to believe it did not take as long as it did in our real world from her Frost Blast managing to freeze sound waves.
Godzilla tanked the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. No, he didn't. This feat comes from a comic book, but what people say happened here didn't actually happen. So if you look at the first page of the comic, they show Godzilla beating the fuck out of this poor other kaiju, and then you see a meteor coming down to hit him. The next page, we see this massive explosion on the surface of Earth that it appears to have hit him. But if you look over just a couple of inches to the panel to the right, literally the next panel, you see that he's standing there just fine, and the rock that was going to hit him was a small pebble that fell down a crack in the ground. This panel happens after this panel. So why are people saying that he was hit by this fucking massive explosion? The Shimo feat, I don't think people were lying. I think people just didn't think it all the way through. This feat is a straight up lie.
Honestly, this is the only real valid point you bring up, but at the same time this feat is practically pointless as it's only multi-continental, and he can already endure such AP. Unlike with the next thing you bring up.
I mean, shit, in one of these movies while he's fighting, he gets grabbed and picked up and carried through the sky to the point that he's like above the clouds. And then the dude drops him and he hits the ground and nearly fucking kills him.
Godzilla at this point was fighting Ghidorah, was in meltdown mode from his power-up, and landed on his dorsal plates which seemed to have broken. Had all of this not been the case, he would have gotten up sooner.
You would drill to the hollow earth. So this is the main argument that most people like to talk about, and I kind of have to attack it in sort of a three-pronged structure, because there's sort of like bullshit on top of bullshit on top of bullshit with this one. Basically, in Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla has to drill down to the hollow earth. So he stands there and shoots his atomic breath down and drills a hole all the way from surface down to the hollow earth, and people calculate that at being like super, super high country or continental or whatever. Some people calculate it as far as moon or even planetary. And there's three reasons why they do this. One, the on-screen time that it takes for Godzilla to do this is about 3.5 minutes. Two, at one point in the film, there's this hologram where they show what the hollow earth actually looks like, and they take this little hologram map and they look at how deep it is, and they calculate that with how long it took. And three, there's a Twitter post by one of the creators of Monsterverse who said that Godzilla has these neurosynthetic glands in his neck that basically causes neurosynthesis and creates the atomic breath, the allows him to shoot it. Now, neurosynthesis is basically swapping around the atomic structure of things in order to create new atoms. Now, people took that information and fucking ran with it and say that because it's neurosynthesis that creates the atomic breath, that means that the atomic breath actually is completely destroying the atoms it's hitting, ergo it is a more powerful attack than it would normally be. So these three arguments all combined put this shit up at like moon or planetary or some shit. The problem with that is all three of these arguments are bullshit. So the first argument is the time. On screen it's about 3.5 minutes from the drill down into the hollow earth. The problem I have with this is it's a fucking movie. And movies don't play out in real time. Within this 3.5 minutes, the camera jumps back and forth between 4 different scenes.
And these scenes are happening in tangent with each other. From Apex receiving the energy signature from the Hollow Earth and replicating it, the reveal of the betrayal to our characters while Godzilla's beaming down to the throne room. Something also worth noting is Godzilla wasn't even at full strength when he did this, close but not quite there.
And the reason for that is because the next two arguments. This map of Hollow Earth is not actually a map of Hollow Earth. At the point that this map is shown in the series, no human being in the Monsterverse had ever been to Hollow Earth yet. And later on in the series, they have multiple characters who state that they haven't fully mapped out Hollow Earth, and it's considerably bigger than they thought it was.
I rewatched Godzilla vs. Kong and the New Empire, and none of this was stated once. Indeed, the Hollow Earth had not been mapped out, but they didn't map out the dimensions of the Hollow Earth, they were talking about what was inside it.
In other words, this map is wrong and the series straight up calls it out for being wrong. This is just an estimation of what they think the Hollow Earth looks like, but this isn't it. We don't know how deep Hollow Earth is, but we do know it's not as deep as this map is because the characters directly state that it is. Meaning that the calculations that they do based on the depth of Hollow Earth based on this picture is wrong. We don't know how wrong it is, but it's wrong.
So in short, this whole thing was pointless, as we can only base it off the diagram given, and since there's no different one to use as reference, there's nothing to measure from.
Absolute most mind-boggling argument here is saying that the neurosynthetic glands that create his atomic breath somehow gives his atomic breath ability to atomize the things that it shoots at. Fucking why? See the atomic breath hit characters like Kong, and it burns his flesh, and it sucks to be hit by it, but it doesn't completely destroy atoms.
Aside from Kong just being that tough, let's not forget that Godzilla's atomic breath is just a concentrated beam of energy.
He's literally firing the fucking blast down at the planet, and the planet is fine. How is it planetary?
The Earth in the Monsterverse isn't comparable to ours, and I'm dumbfounded that arguing the feat isn't because it didn't blow up the planet like the Death Star was mentioned. The Hollow Earth's portals have statements comparing it to pulsars and black holes, which means it could endure such power directed at it. Anyway, that pretty much does it for me, as nothing else is worth bringing up, and if I did, I'd be beating a dead horse. This is in no offense to Rouga Rabid, as I do find some of his content entertaining, but power scaling is quite clearly not his strong suit. In short, MV Godzilla in the War of the Monsters universe is a slaughter fest, with the only possible exception being Kineticlops, which would only end in a stalemate, as the energy beast couldn't hurt Godzilla, and from his body's unique properties, he wouldn't be harmed by anything MV Godzilla could possibly do.